Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're not late. We're hotly anticipated. Um, welcome back
Wouldn't be a
to
live
another.
stream if it didn't have like technical issues, right?
Exactly. That's how you know that
So
these are actually live. I would never want anyone to get the impression that we did these pre-recorded because they're they're not nearly organized enough to be pre-recorded. Welcome, everyone. So glad that you could join us this morning. Sorry we're running a few minutes late, but welcome all the same. If you're watching this later on YouTube, then you won't know any difference. We hope you enjoy it. I am
no.
joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Miguel. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It's been a while. It's
Yeah,
been a long
too
time
long.
actually. Yeah.
What have you been up to? I mean, I know people. I know some people know, but give us an update on what you're up to. We'll let people kind of join the stream here a little bit.
Yeah, now I joined the sales team. So much better for me. Unfortunately, I don't appear that much anymore on the streams, which I love to. But yeah, I've been busy trying to sell machines and learning more about the product that we have. And I'm glad to finally be here, showing you this, not brand new because we had that for a while, but it is an updated version of it. Uh, Product that I think it has some mind-blowing applications, you know,
I agree.
compared to what people are used to. And
You might have seen a video of the CL. Yeah, here's one of them. Once again, also big thank you, obviously, as always, to Lev in the background helping us out. We could not do these streams without our production assist, as you've seen in previous streams that Miguel and I have not had production assist. This machine, I mean, I'll let Miguel kind of sum up this machine. How would you describe the CL to somebody if they're not familiar with it, if this is their first time encountering it?
the CL itself or the galvo technology, because this is, as a CL, the SpeedMarker CL is just a CO2 version of our galvos, right? Our galvo machines. And the galvo technology that we have, I mean, we have plenty of webinars about it. James being one of the most, experts, the best experts that we have in the company about it.
100%.
And we showed it before, but the galvo works with like a two mirror kind of system, and that they're not parallel, they're looking at each other and they're moving simultaneously to do that you're seeing on the screen right now, and it's pretty fast. However, there is limitations to its applications because of how a galvo system works, right? It works in a projected pyramid, so the area of engraving is much smaller than what would you call a gantry system, right? The speedies.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
usually they're much more specific on the applications that you use them for, right? Either you're doing like small tags, or you're doing like one-offs real quick. If you 50, for instance, that you can see there, it's a open system machine, so they're made for production to be put in like belts, conveyor belts, and productions that you can put with the SpeedMarker software, or start stop button, and go with it. But they can also be put in, like, since it's a CO2 in this case, in an open kind of, I don't know, a fair that you want to engrave a bottle to someone right then and there. They come to you, say, oh, I want a name for my son or something like that. You can put it there, do it right in front of them, and there won't be any harm on it, right? So it has its specific applications. However, for those applications, this machine is completely incredible, right?
I totally agree.
The speedies are jack of all trades. These are very specific for engraving. You can cut some paper on it, but I wouldn't. It's good, but for what we're gonna show today, it's much better.
Yes, it's a marking laser. At least that's how I think of it, right? I mean, the name SpeedMarker, I guess, kind of gives it away, but it's not really the machine you buy for cutting. It is really a marking and engraving machine. But you saw in the video, and Miguel's going to show you some pretty cool stuff. I think the speed with which you can mark, by comparison to the speedies, is pretty unbelievable. And I think so. The reason we've chosen bottles as a kind of a, well, I mean, again, let me hand it off to Miguel. I mean, Miguel is really the expert here. Why is bottles, like, what is the thing about bottles that makes them an ideal application for this machine? Because I know right now we have a lot of customers working in that area. It's probably one of the biggest growing areas we've seen in the last year or two. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's anecdotal, of course. So anybody here is feel free to correct me. But doing the demos and doing the trainings, anybody that I trained or I did a demo for, or saw a demo to, that is doing promotional items. One of the biggest sellers are bottles,
Yes.
mugs, much more Yetis, but some companies also have their own brand. They'll get bottles from Alibaba and they'll bring like containers of it. Some people are doing hundreds of bottles a day, thousands of bottles a month. You know, we had people there were doing tens of thousands of bottles a month, right? And these people look for solutions that can improve that type of production. And when you're talking about a laser, and you think about like a Speedy, for instance, you're thinking you're gonna put the production, you're gonna use the whole bed, right? So you can, use the whole bed to increase the productivity and get like the full ROI out of it. However, when we're talking about bottles, for instance, or one-off items, there's no other way, right? You have to go one by one, and when you go one by one, speed matters. Speed matters a lot.
Yes.
Right? And this is where this machine shines. Now, before we go more in depth into this machine, Don said to me before the stream something really interesting, because we just got a machine that we will do a webinar about. Hopefully it will be me, which is the SpeedMarker 1300 directional shift.
Yes.
Right? And that machine has kind of a telescope that allows you to engrave around an object, or a concave or convex, without the need of using a mechanical rotary. And he asked me, hey, how does that compare to a CL? I was like, well, besides being 3 times the price,
it's
it's a much more complex machine to get the settings for, right? We have videos on the launch of this the directional shift, which shows I think Trotec Austria doing 7 bottles in a row in a jig, and it's beautiful. It's mind blowing, right? The way that the machine works, but it's a much more specialized machine when it comes to finding the settings. The CL itself, when we're working with coated bottles, I think Lev is gonna show. Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
With the virtual rotary, it's a beauty. We're gonna do a webinar about it. So check this out.
It is pretty incredible. But you are right in saying though too, Miguel. I mean, like you can see just and you know, obviously we'll get into the software again, you know, shortly here too. But you can see even from the creation of the sort of virtual jig there that it is, you know, a pretty involved process ahead of time, and the results are incredible. Like I'm not going to lie to you, I've seen it in person. It is, you know, pretty amazing. Given it still has that galvo speed, but you know, you're able to do it. I mean, as you can see on the screen here, without necessarily having to use the rotary tool. At the same time, though, Miguel's right. This represents, in terms of investment, at very least, a real step above, you know, what you would incur with the CL. But I would argue that the production speed that you can accomplish with the CL, even though it is one at a time, is probably not that far off realistically. It's still pretty impressive.
I mean, it will scale. That's the
Yes.
thing, right? If on a SpeedMarker directional shift, you can do tens of thousands of bottles without any issue. The problem becomes, in my opinion, it's when you're actually using the machine, which I'm going to show you guys, that when you are doing using a MOPA laser or fiber laser, you can actually harm the metal, right? And different from this, and I'm going to show you in front of the HD camera, and this I did in the Speedy, right? The Speedy 300. When you do on a powder coated bottle, once you remove the coating, nothing happens to the actual to the actual metal, right?
Yeah.
So you just have your design.
That's a really nice design too.
Yeah. So you can go full power, and you can go, well, the best speed that you can get and not have to think about it. And this is exactly what we do on the CL. You can go full speed on the CL, which is it's kind of the same speed that you're seeing there in the video. It's probably the same. And you can go full power without having to worry about the bottle itself. You know, it's going to look exactly the same.
Yep.
So to begin with, I'm going to show a little bit of the SpeedMarker software. Again, we have tons and tons of webinars about the SpeedMarker software, tutorials, how to use it. So I'm not going to get too in depth into it, because I think what we're here to do is the bottles itself, right? And showcase how this machine works. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and explain. Okay, here's a zoom.
I'll mention to Miguel's point, not only do we have a lot of webinars on our YouTube channel regarding the SpeedMark software, but also later on when we go into ROI, we also have more ROI related webinar content. So if that's something else you'd like to dig into a little further, there's more up there for you to check out. Lots of great stuff also with James, coincidentally.
Yep. And as for Lev's point, yes, this is the new CL, and it has a much better dot size, much better quality, and has this SpeedMark software, which it's much better for this. But what I'm showing here is something that you guys might have seen if you did watch the webinar for the jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rotary, right? The mechanical rotary tool that we have. And honestly, before using it for the first time, I thought that this was, same thing as the rotary for the Speedies. It is not. It is much quicker, much more robust, right? So why am I saying that? It's not like I'm not bad mouthing the Speedies at all. Is that this is a very small piece, so you might think, okay, does a bottle fit there? Yes, it does. So I can literally just push it in, and it's good to go.
Voila.
Right? Yeah. So you can put bigger bottles than this, right? And you can adjust the openings of this with the bottle or without the bottle, and it's fairly quick to adjust it. Like I should have a handle, but I don't. So yeah. Anyway, so different from the Speedy, you have to adjust both sides to do this. And with this one, I had bigger bottles before. It was much easier to just put it in here, right? And to adjust, make sure it's tight inside and ready to go. And I don't know if you guys can see there, probably not. I have to zoom in to show it.
I could make it full screen here as well, Miguel, if you like.
Now to show the, what's it called? The dots, right, lining up. So, I don't know if you guys can see, there's 2 dots in here. So this is how you focus the machine, right? So now that you saw that there are 2 dots and they have to come close. So the more I get close to the focus point, closer they will get. So once they become 1 dot, that's where the machine is focused.
Yep.
Now, we will have a solution for that. Mechanical solution that we call the Z stand that's coming in the next couple months, right? So when you buy a machine like this, you get the motorized Z stand that comes with it. There's 3 different types of Z stand. That's one that's not motorized, you can do it manually. The other one is motorized, and the third one is motorized that's attached to the SpeedMarker software. So you can actually change the Z axis as you go along with the production.
So it's kind of like a really fancy sit-stand desk for a SpeedMarker CL.
Exactly.
Miguel, really quick before you, just to make sure before you share the software, if you could stop sharing your screen and reshare it. I think it is
okay.
a little trouble there, but really quickly, I'll take that one instant to also remind you guys, if anyone's joined us a little bit late, so glad to have you. Miguel's gonna be showing off the SpeedMarker CL here and some of the software and things in just a minute. The biggest thing for us, if you guys have any questions at all, toss them in the chat. I'll be keeping track of them as we go, and I'll be trying to interrupt Miguel here and there to throw your guys' questions at him. So please don't hesitate. Toss them in the chat. That's what we're here for.
So, okay. And before I do the demo, I want to show more about the machine and how we're doing it, because there's a simplicity to it as well. So, as you can see, you have the dot, you have the rotary, right here. And then you have the machine a little bit. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is, we don't have the Z stand yet, but this is just a scissor lift. So we put this thing on top of a scissor lift. Let me go up.
Pretty much all there is to it.
Yep.
Miguel's exactly right too. So if you're not familiar with our galvos, it's basically like on the gantry machines, you have the X and Y axis to consider. If I'm not mistaken here, it's basically just like a laser head suspended above whatever your object is. So as you say, when Miguel's adjusting those 2 dots, he's basically just bringing the focus, down or up. But the Z axis is really the only thing you have to be concerned about at all.
Yep. So I put the Yeah, Lev is showing the new Z axis that we're gonna have. So that one is the one that comes with the SpeedMarker software, right?
Beautiful, beautiful.
That you can actually change the Z as you go along with the software.
That's so cool.
And the other thing is that I'm using a Quattro 435. So this is an exhaust for a Rayjet 50 to catch the flames for this machine. So it's not really, there's not a lot of setup. You might think, oh, I'm just buying the laser head. What else I need to do? Not a lot, honestly. And we have also an acrylic casing to put in here to protect you from the CO2 laser. But I'm gonna use just my glasses, my acrylic glasses, right? And we go with it. This is all you need to do. And you can set this up on a tabletop and you can have a huge production, which we're going to show you how much you can do with this machine in a day. Okay? So let's go to it.
Let's do it.
Let me open the SpeedMarker software and I'm going to share my screen there.
I will say it's not guaranteed that you'll look as good as Miguel in the glasses when you purchase the glasses, but as you'll see in the videos of it, so if you, I mean, just calling it like I see it, but if you look at our YouTube channels, any of the videos that we have on the CL, it is the previous version of the CL. So you will see, as Miguel says, some flaming, things like that. But the big thing to watch out for is going to be the spot size of the laser, which has been, I think, pretty significantly improved with this new revamp. But overall, the way that the laser works, kind of the simplicity of the setup, I think those old videos do a very good job of sort of showing you. It's basically just, the laser head in a plexiglass compartment. It's nothing too particularly fancy. It's pretty easy to get running. Really quickly too, for anybody who's joining us a little bit late again, we're focusing today on bottles just because of the size potentially of the market. This is something that Miguel has been letting me know about, but I mean, recently, given the number of demos that Miguel's been doing, the number of customers he's had coming into him who are doing bottles and are doing it basically as their sole job. Is that a fair thing to say, Miguel? Like, bottles is, their 9 to 5, like what their business is engraving all day long. There is a lot of potential profit available there. Not to sort of tip our hands to the ROI coming later in the video, but this is still a marketplace that I think a lot of people could, take advantage of, hypothetically.
Okay, so let me go back to here. I can do a quick test so you guys can see a little bit of how the software works. Okay, I did a segmentation here that if you go to project segmentation, you can add the direction of the rotary. It's not that complicated, but I think Tim went in much better depth than I will go today in the jewelry webinar. And you can go to advanced settings and go to rotary engraving. You can put the size of the segments that you want, in which way is facing the rotary, depth of field if you want, and the angle of the segment, right? Once you have that done, something will pop up here that you can put the segment. So what is the segmentation? The segmentation, each one of these numbers that you see here is a rotation of the machine. So since I'm not seeing how that is looking on, let me put the camera here. You see, I'm gonna press F9 to do a preview. So in the SpeedMarker, when you preview a object, it will rotate the rotary, see? And when it does that, it shows me the area that we'll engrave. So I'll go back, move it a little bit, and now I know where it's gonna engrave, and I don't want it to be there because there's something there. So I'm gonna move down a little bit. I'm gonna move this one down a little bit too, and I'm gonna press F9 again. You see it's gonna rotate back, right? So for each segmentation, the machine is gonna make a turn, a small turn, and that makes it much quicker than the speedy rotary, because the speedy rotary works in each line. So it does a line, it rotates, does a line, it rotates. Here it works in segments. So in that segment, the SpeedMarker will try to use whatever you have there as a depth of field and run it. So I'm gonna do a quick test. I'm gonna press F12, and actually I'm gonna put my glasses. Okay, so I'm protected in case there's any reflections. Again, it's a CO2 laser, so don't do this at home. And if you're using a fiber laser, you need special glasses.
Yes.
So it fell down a little bit. Let me stop. But you saw how quick this thing turned.
It still blows me away. Because when I think of CO2s, my immediate thought is obviously, pardon me, is the speedies. And to see the galvo speed with the CO2 is still unreal.
Yeah. There you go. So it's doing a pass and a cleaning pass, okay? And this is a very thick job. Why is it so slow?
I think you made a good point earlier too, and it's something I'd like to stress is the fact that when it comes to the laser settings with the CO2 on an anodized bottle like this, or like a coated bottle, because the CO2 won't penetrate the stainless steel of the bottle itself, Miguel's right, you could simply basically let it rip at 100% power, and you don't have to worry about any damage to the bottle. Whereas if you were using a standard MOPA or fiber laser, obviously you've got to be really, really careful about how you do the power and the settings on something like this, so that you don't actually cut into the bottle itself, obviously, and damage the exterior wall there. The insulation is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, it took 50 seconds, but I think some settings were changed here because we had to restart the computer, like the technical issues. You can do faster than that. But even then, it took what, 48 seconds to do of 2 thick engravings, no extra pass needed. And let me take this out just as a test. And it's ready to go, right? I mean, I made a mistake here, but it's ready to go. Trotec test. And this thing here, which is a much simpler thing to engrave there, took 2.5 minutes on the 300. It took 48 seconds here. So I'm gonna see the setting that I'm doing, because definitely there's something there.
Wow. I mean, even that though is a pretty good indication of the potential speed, given that, like you said,
also the flames were because this thing is not as close as it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this machine has a tendency to flame a little bit, but like a little bit of flaming is not something you really need to worry
CO2
about.
lasers flame in general, but
Thank you, by the way, Amy. I appreciate that. I stand in front of it. I can't take credit for any of the work that's on it, but it is really cool.
Okay, so now I'm gonna change this to the actual engraving that I want to do, and I'm gonna pull the PDF. Okay, I think is it on my desktop? Where is it?
So glad that everybody could join us today. That's so cool. We haven't gotten to talk with Amy or Johnny in a while, but anybody who wants to throw questions into the chat, rest assured that Johnny in particular is a really, really knowledgeable galvo specialist. So any questions about the CL that we can't grab, Johnny's your man. He will absolutely, he might know better than we do, to be honest, in a lot of cases.
Probably.
I mean, better than me, certainly.
Yeah, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that. And now I have a wrap pattern here. And I have the same, actually, let me go back. I got to find the parameters here. So I'm using a cleaning parameter, right? And in the marking, I'm using brush materials, aluminum powder coated, right? So I'm going to delete that one. And here, I'm going to do the same thing. Brush materials, aluminum powder coated. And I'm going to find a cleaning pass. And again, you might not need to do all that, right? This is just because, do I need to fill that? No, I don't. This is just because I was making the test on the best possible way for you to finish the job and not even have to clean anything, right? Because some of the times that when you're doing the powder coating bottles on a Speedy, if you don't have enough power, you either do a second pass, and then it's 5 minutes per bottle instead of 3 or 2.5, or you actually have to scrub it to remove the powder, right? And here I was trying my best to do that with one pass. So again, this is live, so let me see where I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna hit go.
So, man, I love watching this machine. Left through this in the chat as well. I want to run this past you, Miguel. I wasn't aware of this. That the CL, it comes as a 50, but there's also 700, 1300, and 1600s?
Yes.
Or, see, I didn't realize. So there are different like sizes or grades of CL. Like what changes there? Is it the laser wattage, or is it the size of the marking area?
It's actually just the enclosing. So
Okay.
yes, the 700 from the 300 or from the 50, they come in the same. And Johnny can correct me if I'm wrong, but they come in the same power, right? They have 30 watt, 60 watt, and 100 watt, right? I believe so. Let's see, John. Yeah. And the 100 watt is water cooled, so it's a different system. The 60 watt can be either water cooled or air cooled. This one is air cooled, and the 30 watt is only air cooled.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, we ordered the 60 watt for ourselves for the demo room, but oh, I didn't even like how long it took, like 30 seconds.
I mean, if that, yeah.
I didn't see that.
Someone check the tapes.
Yeah, I went to talk to you guys and forgot about it. So now the file is going to be a little bit different because this one is actually smaller. Can you?
Yep.
Yeah. So I realize now that I did this one smaller. This one is a 3 inches wide. This one's a 4-inch wide, and took 35 to 40 seconds. This one took 2.5 minutes, right? And it's a much bigger one. So, and if I could do a little bit of tweaking on the file itself, would be easier as well, because this one Ruby fixed some of the things that came with the file, right? And this one didn't. So it didn't engrave some of the some of the problems with the file, right?
In fairness, though, like having watched you live, basically, get the file prepared, put it into the SpeedMarker, and run it, on the CL. We've only been streaming for half an hour, and basically, you've almost got a finished product there, ready to go.
No, I did, and I have other like 2 bottles here, and this is the part where this is a great machine, is that I can put the bottle in back, make sure everything is lined up, press F12 again, and go back to talk to you guys. And I'll be back in 30 seconds, change the bottle, do another one. I can keep doing that the whole day long, okay? And the exhaust, I'm gonna put the exhaust closer because of the flames, so you guys can see that if you enclose this a little bit, it becomes much better, see?
Also, we should stress there, Lev was showing the video that Miguel took of the CO2 version. We'll come back to that in just a second, but I'm just watching the clock on this particular engraving, because at this point, I think...
I'm not watching it, so let me know.
Yeah, Lev sums it up pretty beautifully there, though. I mean, Speedy 300 is roughly 2.5 to 3 minutes a bottle. SpeedMarker CL is about 30 seconds a bottle.
So again, I finished. I take it out. Open. Put a new one in. Make sure it's lined up. Then F12 again.
There you go. The other thing I would stress too is when you're looking at the ROI for these, don't just consider the engraving time. Obviously, that's certainly an important part, but just keep in mind that all of the setup, all of the sort of fixed costs, even the slightly variable costs of like if you have to do the artwork for the customer, that sort of stuff, they're completely equal between the CO2 and the galvo. Really, at the end of the day, the big trade-off is going to be in the processing time. And when it comes to the CL, realistically, it's about a 1/10 of the processing time per bottle, per piece. Especially as Miguel said earlier, when you're having to do them in a rotary, so it's one piece at a time. the CL really does kind of leave the Speedy in the dust for this particular application.
It's a perfect marriage, right? You have a product that can only be done one at a time, kind of, because you unless you're limiting yourself. Okay, I'm gonna put the camera back on me here so I can talk to you guys, because this is weird. Okay, and take off the glasses. So unless you are doing you're limiting yourself a lot. Let's say you're your own product, you're not like customizing that to anybody, you're just buying the stuff from AliExpress and buy like tons and tons of bottles and just putting your logo, shipping out. You can do that on the Speedy 300 and do 12 bottles at a time, 10 bottles at a time, right? But when you get bigger, for instance, this was the one, okay, here. So this one is a 3 inches on a Speedy 300, took 2.5 minutes. This one's a 4 inches on this one, took 30 something seconds. Sorry. And if you have to do that, you're limited to use the rotary. So you are limited to one object at a time, unless you go to the other galvo, right?
So on that point, if you don't mind, Left popped up a great question here from Dan in the chat, asking how the CO2 galvo and rotary do with glass, like wine glasses or wine bottles, which is an area I think, to your point, basically the rotary is almost the only way to go, just because of the way that the most like goblets and wine bottles are constructed. You have such a narrow area. The rotary makes it, in my experience at least, much easier.
It is, and it's pretty good actually. I mean, John said it very good. Yeah, exactly. It is very good to do that on wine glasses and glasses in general. I just didn't do it here because I'm very clumsy and I didn't want to show you how quick I can be doing that with the glass, and things could fly out of my hand and break, right? So
it's so powerful. You crush a wine glass in his bare hands.
So I did it the bottles because I wanted to show you guys the handling time. Because when you're doing that in a Speedy, you're opening the lid, you're taking out of the rotary, you're putting it back on the rotary, you're clamping it, you're making sure it's aligned. Like here, if you are not in the level, you will see right away because the dots are not going to be in the same place.
Yep.
If you're focused, the dots will be just going to be one dot. If it's slightly out of level, you see right away. There's no like maybes, right? So I wanted to show you guys how that looks, like taking it out, put it back in, 5 seconds. You open the bottle, put it there, done. Take it out, and you keep doing it. The entire one is a challenge. Oh, there you go.
That's awesome.
Been a while.
Thank you very much.
Been a while.
Really quickly too, I think you also made a really good point earlier, Miguel, which is in terms of the post-processing when it comes to CL versus Speedy, where the CL, because the SpeedMarker is kind of set up to do things like the cleaning pass and stuff, whereas the Speedy, I mean, at least I've been there where I've done like a colored anodized bottle in a Speedy and then had to get in with like a magic eraser or something and scrub the engraved area afterwards, just because it's, you know, unless you have the settings perfect, you might end up with some residue from the anodizing, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So this is made for you, as a like galvo lasers were made for you to just program it to do its job, specific job, and you let it go because it should be on a conveyor belt, would run the production for you. So having any type of handling time as like a part of the business here wouldn't be good. Right, so you have cleaning passes, for instance, which are really nice. And I didn't use a cleaning pass, and I should for this one because I didn't fill it up because the file was kind of like off, right? And this is our fault. I was gonna say it's my fault, but it's our fault because I didn't make the file. I tried to fix it, but I didn't. And I'm gonna put, you know, the Speedies up there. Ruby fixed the file by itself when I was running in the 300. So there you go. I didn't have to do anything. I just put the file there. Ruby fixed it. I ran it. Beautiful. Now, so here I actually had to run a little bit, but Ruby it's coming to the SpeedMarker.
That's what I was gonna say. Quick point. Yeah, it is coming. Likely, I think end of this year or next, but it's on the road. Like it's on the roadmap. You can see it. It's coming to the SpeedMarker. If you have a preference for Ruby and as Miguel says, some of the benefits that Ruby gives you, it's on the way.
Yeah, fixing fast rate. That's the biggest benefit to me.
It's pretty sweet, yeah.
Because you're gonna get some like weird files and they're not gonna run properly, and you know, you can always fix that. But anyway, So let me see the chat because I completely missed it.
Yeah, no problem. There's been some good discussion in the chat.
Yeah.
I think Dan had a really good question regarding the possibility of a flex galvo machine and the reason that either that would or wouldn't be possible. I mean, it seems like a really cool idea given the speed of the CL and then the speed obviously that you get with a SpeedMarker. But I believe Johnny mentions that it's that the optics on a galvo system are just, they're quite different from a speedy system from what I understand. So I know in a speedy system you can simply swap out for a flex lens, but on a galvo I don't think it's quite as simple as that. That's getting a little bit beyond me in terms of technicality, I will say, but yes, exactly. Those are the unicorns left. Exactly.
It's not as easy, but it's not that hard either. When we're talking about speedies, you can literally swap a lens in seconds, but it's not that hard to swap lenses on a SpeedMarker. You just need to be more careful because the lenses are maybe 10, 15 times more expensive. Ooh. So yeah, those lenses are built to last like a decade or more. Yeah. These ones. So you have to be really careful with that. But yeah, that's the biggest reason why I wanted to show you guys bottles today is because the ROI on these things at this machine is insane. It's absolutely mind-blowing, right? And I think it's time for us to move to that, right? Maybe.
That's cool. Let's do
it. Mike Pi's putting unicorns there. All right, so let me put this one. Stop sharing, and I'm gonna share just this because I want to see what I'm doing. You guys can see that, right?
Not yet.
It?
There it is.
Really?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, no thanks. So this is a simplification of what we're doing. So when I was testing it, Lev showed a video there. When I was testing it on the Speedy 300, it took me 2.5 minutes. So we put 3 minutes per bottle because I'm adding the handling time. Yeah, he's gonna put the video there. So that's why I put 3 minutes, because you have the handling time, you have to take it out, put it back in, and it adds to that. Now the SpeedMarker CL has a much quicker handling time. And when I did the first testing for this, which was with the smaller file, I got the wrong file. It took me 25 seconds to do the engraving, right? So I put it at 25 seconds plus 5 seconds. And again, honestly, you can be quicker than that. This is not the only rotary. This is not the only chuck that you can get on the machine. So you probably can do something better than I can. I mean, I've been using the machine. Arrived at what, 2 weeks ago, roughly 3 weeks ago.
I think roughly. Yeah.
And we set it up last week. So I have been using this machine for like a week, and I can do the 30-second bottle kind of thing. So you don't even need that much training. And I wasn't even that huge in SpeedMarker because I didn't know how to properly use a rotary until last week, let's say. So there you go. Not a lot of training needed. It has a very low floor, extremely high ceiling though.
Yes.
To run production, these machines, you can do some crazy stuff. So there's a lot to learn about the machines, different from the Speedies. But it's pretty easy for you to get in, and once you have the file ready to go, like I showed you guys, you literally just press F12, job runs. Right? There's nothing else to do.
So one thing, I think this is not something we will necessarily touch on as much today, but I think you're going to talk about what Johnny points out, right? Which is, another lesser thought about maybe aspect of the CL, but in terms of what you've seen in some of the videos, the early videos that Lev was showing, when it comes to marking flat objects, as long as they're within the marking area of the CL, it has no problem doing any sort of CO2 marking that a Speedy can do. And it's not, again, all of this is not to take away from the Speedies by any means. Everyone knows that Miguel and I love the Speedy machines. But this machine, I think, is a bit of a unicorn in that, so far as I know, it is our only CO2 galvo laser, the CLs, the different versions of the CL. So it's one of those things that, I mean, Miguel saw a really cool opportunity, I think, and wanted to be sure that you guys knew about it.
Yeah, because in flat surfaces, to me, where this machine shines is if you're doing customized jobs all the time. So one-offs, new ones, then this machine is better in my opinion. But the thing about the rotary is that if you're using the rotary anyway on a speedy, you're only doing one job at a time.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're just doing one job at a time, this thing can be 6 to 8 times faster. You can see there 3 minutes to 30 seconds. And then you have everything else that I'm going to showcase to you guys now. So the cost of the material. Don, do you have the AliExpress bottle there, or Lev?
So Lev had them brought up a minute ago, but we can show that off to you. I don't know if Lev still has it there, but you're basing this off of a general bottle that you might get off of like an AliExpress or like a Alibaba, something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there you go. Six Canadian dollars, and then you have the shipping cost. And honestly, I've been talking to people that want to buy this machine, and they're talking about buying containers, right? I have a guy that is like, no, I'm waiting for my container of bottles to come in, and then I'm gonna grab the machine. I was like, all right, cool. You're doing thousands of these, and he was struggling to do as much as he needed to do. He has a Speedy 300 because he couldn't keep up with the production, but he still wants to work from his house, right? His small studio. He doesn't want to buy bigger machines. So I was like, okay, maybe this is the perfect solution for you. You increase your production by like 5-10 fold maybe, and you'll still keep the same kind of mobility that you have right now with the 300. And so yeah. You get a $6 material, then you have labor, right? And that labor is per bottle, right? So it's 50. We put $15 as a minimum. Maybe it's a little bit higher. I don't know, like the minimum salary now in Ontario.
But you're supposing that like you're paying somebody roughly $15 an hour to do the job.
Yeah.
So
or you're paying yourself, right? I mean, that could be your own salary because it's your business. That plus whatever part of the profit that you want to be if you don't want to reinvest on it. But again, this is per bottle, right? And then the leasing price for each one per bottle. It's where you actually can see like a big difference, because it sounds weird that the SpeedMarker CL is less pricey than the 300 when the 300 is almost half of the price of the SpeedMarker CL, right? So, and that is because you can do 4 or 5 bottles in the time that you can do one bottle on this Speedy 300, if not more. I mean, depending on the design that you're working with. So the leasing price of a 300 Speedy 300 here in Canada, it's around specifically in Canada, it's around 680, 670, while the leasing price
per month,
per month, lease to own for 5 years.
Yeah.
And the leasing price, lease to own of the SpeedMarker CL is around 1,100, right? And okay, I'm looking at what Johnny is saying because Johnny's a specialist, so I'm trying to follow him along as well. But yeah, so the leasing price for the SpeedMarker CL is around 1,100. But as you see there in the daily max production, we're gonna talk about that more. You can do 800 bottles more a day than you can do in the Speedy 300. If you're working 8 hours a day, you can do 960 bottles. So when you start like making the calculations, the leasing price becomes 30 cents per bottle, which is ends up being much cheaper.
Yes.
Let me just read the first second before I continue. Sometimes galvo is better for throughput. Sometimes it's better to get more in the speedy at once, even if it's slower. What fits? Yeah, exactly. So for instance, this is a great point. If you have a huge production, but you are using, for instance, jigs, and that is something that you can put it there, leave it for half an hour, do something else, and then come back, and you have a good workflow with that, that might be better for you. Because thinking about it, if you have to do 960 bottles a day, you have to be sitting here, and every 30 seconds you have to do the whole movement of taking it out, open another bottle, putting back in.
Yep.
And do that the whole day, fitting it. So realistic, it could be less than that, maybe 800 bottles a day, because you're gonna take a break, you're gonna do your stuff, right? But for a speedy, you can actually put there and go do something next to it. don't cut and leave. By the way, like you should always be near your machine,
next to the machine. But yes,
exactly.
but you make a good point, and this is something that James talks about in his ROI video he did with us back in January.
Look, it's because I'm gonna insert Dan there. Kinda, it's because I'm talking from a designer standpoint. So to me, if I run the laser, I can go back to the computer that's right next to the laser and do whatever I need to do while the laser's running. Right, so that's why I say that. But you're right. When I say something else, I'm not telling you to go watch TV and then come back. I think like do other part of your production or job or whatever that is near the laser to make sure that you don't leave it unattended.
Views expressed by Miguel Machado do not necessarily reflect those of Trotec Laser Inc. and its subsidiary.
Exactly.
No, but I think also to that point, consider that like what Miguel can also be saying is like, or you can pay somebody. I mean, if the ROI is there, right? Particularly as you said, doing the labor cost at $15 per hour, like at a minimum wage type of level-ish, that might be somebody whose job is to just do the labor of the swapping out of the bottles, the F12, swapping out bottles F12. And so that's a cost that you would have to build in there to make sure that it makes sense for you, when the contract comes in.
And if you see there, the cost of running this on 372 cents, while it's 12 cents on this one. So if you want to extrapolate the salary of someone and say, hey, I'm going to pay you much better, but you're just going to do that for the rest of the day, there you go. And you're not going to lose much, right? And at the end of the day, the cost per bottle for each is even less on the SpeedMarker, but it's not a big difference. The big difference comes when you realize that you can produce way more here than on the Speedy. As a fiber laser, only faster, also more powerful, meaning do you need the same water to engrave the same? A fiber laser is completely different, right? It's not faster. The galvo is faster, right? Yeah. They have the same speed. The galvo CO2 and the galvo fiber, they have similar speeds, but they have different applications. They work in different things, so they it's not more powerful, right? And yeah, I think that's the simplest way I can.
Yeah, I think you do a good job. And then specifically because you ask about wattage, you'll see this in our catalogs and stuff like that reflected. But the way that you would calculate wattage potentially on a fiber laser and wattage on a CO2 laser are completely apples to oranges. They're the difference.
Yeah, and also fiber can still engrave on some of the items that CO2 can, but because of dot size and the way that the laser works, it's not going to be the same thing, right? So also, for instance, you cannot engrave glass with fiber.
Yeah.
The light spectrum is going to go through the glass. So it has different applications. It's a completely different thing.
Exactly.
The wattage doesn't.
You and Johnny both, I think, kind of covered it off really that the CL is a really special machine and it has an incredible potential built in there. But I think at the same time, what's most important to consider is an ROI table like this and your workflow. Thinking about what it is that you want to do, what it is that you have potentially contracts to do, and then trying to figure out, what is the laser, what is, either it's the laser source, whether it's a galvo or a gantry or whatever it is that's going to fit what you need to do best. In this sort of calculation, if you're going to be doing anodized bottles, Miguel's exactly right. The CL is an incredible opportunity. But if you're going to be doing, a whole variety of things and bottles is just one of them, the Speedy might be a better option for you. It really depends. But that's why you got to come in for a demo with Miguel.
Yeah, exactly. And when we're talking about business, you have shipping costs, right? And a little bit of overhead costs. That overhead can be more or less depending on where you are, how much you're, paying to be at that building, or how much electricity you're using in a month.
Totally.
So we have all those costs adding up to $934 and $792 per each machine. Now, the SpeedMarker costs less to produce one bottle than the Speedy 300. And then you have the cost per day there, which is around $150 difference between the two of them. Maybe $200. But when you go to max production, when you realize that you can do 30 seconds, you can do a bottle, you are blowing the Speedy out of the water.
Yeah.
Right? And you're selling at the same price, similar costs, but you're doing much more. And one thing that I realized with the customers that come in here is that they usually get the contract before they do the product. So you're not really doing the bottles and praying that it sells. You get a contract I'm gonna do 1,000 bottles, 2,000, 10,000 bottles. All right, how much? $25 per bottle, $20 per bottle, whatever. But instead of taking 2-3 months to finish that, you can finish that in a few days. Okay.
Also,
so
a table like this is a good way to
the net sale for a day ends up being that, right? Like $4,000 for the 300 and 24 grand for the SpeedMarker if you sell everything, right? If that's within the contract that you just got to sell those machines, so you're profiting $22,000 a day on the SpeedMarker instead of
$25 a bottle. That is right, like
at $25 a bottle, which could be pretty cheap depending on what type of bottle you're doing.
Sure.
You if you go to Etsy, you see that there are Yeti mugs being sold like over $40 per mug, right? So that is a cheap bottle, let's say, because we're going over off the Alibaba bottle that we saw, right? And let's say you're getting containers of that, you're doing thousands of that, so you can sell it pretty cheap. But if you're doing Yeti mugs, I think the Yeti mug itself has a huge cost. Okay?
Yes. But also, people expect to pay more with the brand name attached, of course. I mean, people know that the Yeti mug is high quality, and they know that it has a certain cost associated with it.
So you can see the prices there, and they're higher than that.
Yes.
See, $40.
And keep in mind too that it seems.
By the way, if you do an engraving, if you're doing engraving like that, go back left. Yeah, if you do a vertical engraving like that, it would take you 10 seconds on a SpeedMarker, not less.
Yeah, it'd be
because it won't rotate. You won't do any like you do maybe like 3 or 5 segments, and it's gonna be done. So it's not gonna be like the Speedy.
Yep. It's only if you're engraving horizontally that you have to worry about the
because it has to rotate 1 segment at a time. So that takes a while. So yeah, so this is the gross profit that you can get on a day. Now, of course, if you're going from the idea that you're making the bottles and then selling it, you probably won't profit that much because you're not gonna sell 960 bottles a day. But usually, like I said, you get a contract before you start production, and then you realize, okay, I have 3 months to do these things. Or I could buy a SpeedMarker CL, do these in like 2 weeks, and take a vacation, and then come back.
Also, one thing to consider in terms of figuring out the price for your bottle is to do it that way. So if you have 900 bottles and you know that in terms of like the fixed cost that you have for packing, unpacking them, shipping them, etc., is so much per hour, and it's going to take this long to engrave them, you're charging $100 an hour. That's a way of figuring out how much to charge for your bottles. Oh, if you want me to do 1,000 bottles and it's going to take me 2 hours to do 100 of them or whatever, and it's $100 an hour, then you can extrapolate that out for the customer to a meaningful quote on how much you want to charge per bottle.
So Dan said, like, in a galvo CO2 cut, yeah. But yeah, exactly what Johnny said. I'm not gonna go over him.
Yeah. Also, that's another thing too that it will certainly depend on the thickness, as Johnny says, of the laser, of the leather. Pardon me. Another good one to test at a demo, honestly, or if you'd like, send it into someone like Miguel to test out.
Kofi Phillips made a good argument there about the fiber. Honestly, it's not that it's not going to work, it's that it's not going to be good. And when I was talking about glass, I was talking about transparent glass. So if you're talking about, it depends on the glass. If it's silica, it's going to be a little bit different than limestone and soda ash. They have different ways, but it's never going to be as good as a CO2.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if it's a frosted glass, obviously it'll be similar to like an anodized.
Yeah, it could be also could be a flex, and they're doing that, which they have in their catalog. Yeah. So that could be it as well. But if it's a transparent glass, it's just gonna go through. Okay.
You can. And if oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's it.
I was just gonna say, you can see a version of that actually in we did a video quite a while ago on our mirror acrylic where Lev, I believe, uses that exact technique to engrave the back side of a piece of mirrored acrylic from the front, because the actual acrylic itself is transparent and it's only the sort of mirror piece at the back that creates the reflection. So he's able to use a fiber laser to go right through the actual acrylic itself and only hit the reverse part because it's perfectly transparent. But Miguel's exactly right. Glass I didn't know this when I started at Trotec, but glass isn't just glass. There are different makeups of glass. There are different kinds of glass. All sorts of different things that you have to.
Some glasses will have lead in it, like heavy glasses will have lead. So, could be that it can mark, but it's not gonna be as good as frosted and like as detailed as a CO2. And this is exactly what Don was talking about.
Yep. So that's a good question also for you there, Miguel. So prepping the glass. I mean, in terms of at least, let's say, like quality of engraving, does doing the preparation on the glass there, is there anything that you can use like a SpeedMarker style thing on glass? Would any of that? It's my understanding.
Not that I know about. But then again, I'm not huge on glasses, right? That's not my specialty.
Right.
But an engrave is the same as etch. It's just different nomenclatures. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay? And like I said, it could be fiber only, and it could be also a lead glass. Those things exist. They have like pieces of metal within the glass, which, by the way, they're terrible to engrave on the CO2 laser because of it, but they work. Limestone and soda ash glasses are the best. They're gonna give you the best results. But yeah,
we actually yes, okay, thank you, Lev. Exactly. So this is exactly what we were talking about before, but he's able to engrave the front of the acrylic there, and it passes directly through the actual acrylic itself, which is transparent and only hits the sort of reverse the thin film that's on the back that makes the acrylic reflective. So we're able to kind of paint through the back in the same way that we would with like a piece of reverse acrylic kind of thing. You'll see also at the start of the video, when he's using the CO2 laser, he actually flips the piece of acrylic. There it is right there, as though we planned it. Flips the piece of acrylic over.
Now Johnny said something that I didn't know. Really? I thought they were used interchangeably all the time. Didn't know that they had a difference. I know that the people like to say marking for metals, even though it's the same thing as engraving, at least in my mind. So I didn't.
I always thought it was to do with depth. It's like engraving, I thought, kind of signifies like a greater depth than marking or etching, which is just like a surface marking. But again, I'm the same as you. When I thought they were just nomenclature. Like you said, it's just interchangeable.
What about cutting clear acrylic? What machine is the best? Any Trotec machine. Most of the speedy lines, yes. Depends on the thickness of the acrylic and then the power of the machine.
Yeah.
Okay? So usually, if you're going like thicker than like a 1/4 inch, you want like a 120 watt to be able to be cutting that. But for sure, Trotec machines.
Absolutely.
Do you have to manually account for the thickness of the clear acrylic for focal distance purposes? No. Where is it? For the rotary, yes. Not for the focal distance. I swear to God, I had my caliper here. I took it. Where is it? Anyway, the tech area it's complicated.
Put on your glasses.
Yeah. So to get the focal point, you will see the 2 points getting like close together, and they will become one. Once they do it, you're fine. But when you're using the rotary, you have to calculate, or at least get the caliper to tell you the diameter of the piece.
Yep.
So when you segment, the rotary knows how much it has to rotate for you, right? So it doesn't distort the file. Oh, I have there the caliper. So for those that don't know or never used a digital caliper, you can get this one for like $20 on Amazon. It's extremely useful for anything rotary related.
And you can get them pretty cheap now too. I mean, you can get them off of Amazon, like you said, for
So you measure the diameter, get it here. There you go, 7133. Yep. And then you put that in the SpeedMarker software, you will know that you will only rotate the maximum amount of rotation would go is 7133.
Also, somebody made this point to me not long ago, and I think it's important to point out, always go for a digital caliper in this case, just because they are so much more, not maybe more precise, but just there's less chance for error or they make it that much simpler. We've just passed the top of the hour. I know we started a little bit late. I feel like we covered off most of the questions that were here in the chat. I mean, I really appreciate I really appreciate everybody coming out and throwing such great questions in. Exactly, they're easier to read. I mean,
okay, gotcha.
I think Dan is asking about the transparent acrylic with the mirror in the back, but I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not certain actually. My inclination is to say you would want to focus on, the back specifically. So if the acrylic is 3 millimeters, you'd want to put it not to the surface, not focused to the surface, but focused as though it were going to hit the back. But
I would imagine the same, exactly, because it's always to the surface, right? So it's the surface that you're going to hit. So
yeah.
In that case, it goes down.
So, just out of curiosity, does when it comes to the SpeedMark and stuff that you were using today, Miguel, really quick, that was just an ordinary session of SpeedMark, right? There's nothing special about the SpeedMark that you would use with the CL. It's just a regular, SpeedMark session.
What do you mean, SpeedMark session?
So, there's no difference between SpeedMark that you would get with a standard SpeedMarker 300 and the SpeedMarker CL, I guess is what I mean to say. If you're already familiar with SpeedMark software and you wanted to add a CL to what you have, it's the same exact thing already. You're already.
From my experience, from my limited experience with the SpeedMarkers, the biggest difference will be with dynamic shifter, right? Because they add the 3D rotary inside, and if you're using the MOPA, you have pulse duration and frequency, but most of the fiber and the CO2 galvos, the SpeedMarker software is basically the same.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of difference there. So once you learn it, it's, you can go and have fun. Yeah. And by the way, like I said, I only use this machine, I think maybe 2 or 3 times. I do all the testing on the software actually on our SpeedMarker 300 fiber and see what's what.
I will say, if you guys have any questions kind of going forward in terms of either the ROI breakdown, I mean, an hour isn't nearly enough time for us to get to get into the ROI at the level that we'd like to and that sort of thing. But this is something that, obviously we're willing to discuss with you further and to share with you if you want to get a hold of Miguel directly, especially if you're in the Ontario area and you'd love to, either do a virtual demo with him or you'd like to come out to the showroom and we can show you the CL in person.
Bring your own product. Yeah, bring your own product. If you don't believe that it can be done, bring your logo, bring your product, and we'll do it right in front of you.
That's a challenge. I'm going to throw Miguel's email here up on the screen.
Yeah. Funny how things change, eh? A year ago, we were hiding my email from the public eye. And now, yeah, there you go.
Never again. But definitely, I mean, very sincerely, if you guys want to know more about the ROI breakdown, this is something that Miguel, I think, could talk about for a long time. And I'm really glad he was able to, because, I mean, look, he's an incredibly busy dude these days, but I appreciate him taking the time to join us. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a very good chance, because I will be traveling next week, Miguel might be hosting in my place, I think, which is something cool to kind of look forward to. It's the one real major downside to my mind of being on the road is that I won't actually get to watch the stream where Miguel gets to host, because I really like when Miguel hosts. He does a good job. So I think it's gonna be really cool.
It will be more professional, just like this one. It won't be a Rage challenge kind of hosting. But
that's okay. Anybody wants to go and binge the Rage challenges, the 1 hour challenges like we have on YouTube, obviously, please go nuts. I don't necessarily recommend it all at once, but there's a lot of fun to be had there.
Yeah, Halloween's right around the corner, so watch the pumpkin pie one. You might be able to, get some ideas of what to engrave for Halloween.
I think that will probably do it for today. I mean, a huge thank you to everyone who joined us today. Obviously, a huge thank you to Miguel and to Lev in the background for running the stream for us, joining with all the videos and everything else. If you guys have any questions, obviously, again, there's Miguel's email. Get a hold of Miguel directly or give us a shout. All of our phone numbers are directly on the website, TrotecLaser.com. If you're not in Canada, that's okay. Visit TrotecLaser.com. It will put you in contact with your local Trotec. And just like Johnny in the UK, they are full of awesome people who know a ton of stuff about these lasers and are very happy to help you guys figure out what's the right solution for you. Miguel, any final thoughts, any last words you want to throw out there before we close it down?
Yes, if you're in Ontario, we're going to have an open house next week, Tuesday, July 19th. And we're going to have a photo engraving boot camp with Timothy Enton doing the classes. I'm going to be there to help as well. It's going to be the full day, Wednesday, right? You're gonna have lunch. You're gonna mingle with people. It's pretty fun. I did that at the beginning of the year here in Ontario, Calgary, and in Vancouver, and it was a success. You know, people loved it. People met each other, made contacts. So hey, there you go. And
Absolutely.
and there's gonna be a Ruby seminar on the afternoon for free if you come here. But this is for Ontario only right now. We're gonna do that later for Vancouver and then for Calgary, I believe so.
Yep. And QC and here in Montreal, we're gonna host one too. But Miguel's exactly right. Those are on the horizon
as well.
Yep.
I didn't go there, so I forgot about it. But yes, right.
We have to bring you here. I'm very excited to have Miguel in the house. If you guys would like to come out though to the Tuesday open house, and I highly recommend it again. Miguel will be there. We'll have Mike Clark there. We'll be showing off the CL and some of the other new machines. Doors open at 10, so feel free to come by.
This
10 to 12,
Tuesday,
lunch is provided. Yep.
July 19th.
Exactly. We'd be very happy to have you.
Exactly. Come on.
Yeah. I think with that, this Tuesday, exactly. That's right, Dan. This coming Tuesday. We do also have, I'm not sure if Lev will have it offhand. I don't mean to put him on the spot, but I think there is a bit.ly link that will take you to more information about it. If we don't have it offhand, I will toss it into the description of this video on YouTube in the next kind of 5-10 minutes here. But just know that there is a registration form. It's completely free. We'd be very happy to have you, and lunch is provided. So as Miguel says, I mean, come on down, check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. And if you're in the BC area, to Miguel's point, the week after is going to be our open house in BC. So, we'll be talking more about that next week, but, hope you guys can make it out. We'd love to have you. Regardless, thank you everybody so much for watching, whether it's now or in the future on YouTube. I think Lev might have, nope. Okay, never mind. I will put it in the description of the video. Cody, if you're wondering about pricing on a unit and you're here in Canada, you can reach out to Miguel or to your local salesperson, depending on where you're located. But best thing to do usually is to go to troteclaser.com, and that'll give you your local phone numbers. And exactly right there. Thank you, Lev. And then you can get a hold of whoever's in your area, and they'll be able to help you out. Very much looking forward to meeting everyone next week at the open house, or to, at very least, hear from you guys how it goes. Hoping you can come out, check out the CL, bring some products with you, bring some demos with you, bring some excitement with you. That's going to be a lot of fun. But I think for Miguel and myself, take care, have a great week. And Miguel, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.